YouTube, what's going on? QnA Films, back with another tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over the exposure triangle, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. The three things you need to know on how to manually expose your next image. Alright guys, this is something that needed to be done here on my channel because I understand just starting out how hard and how difficult it was to actually get over the exposure triangle. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to say, if you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell so you always get updated every time I post a new upload. Back to what I was saying, exposure triangle is a difficult thing to catch on to if you are just starting out. Trust me, as a beginner, it took a very long time to actually get it down. You know, it's just one of those things that has you thinking, you know, will I ever get to the point where I want to be? And trust me, as long as you stay consistent and see it through, you will get it. Again, it's not something that you're just going to look at your camera and be like, oh, right away you're gonna know what it is. It's something that you're gonna have to learn. It's something that every photographer and videographer has to learn. So if you think that you won't get there, trust me, you will, as long as you keep staying consistent with it. All right, let's dive right into this. The first thing I want to talk about is aperture. Aperture is how much light you are allowing into your lens. There are two things that are happening when you adjust your aperture. First, you are either allowing more or less light into your lens when you open and close your aperture. The reason you would open your aperture is if you are underexposed. The reason you would close your aperture is if you are overexposed. If you don't have enough light in your current space, you would open your aperture to say a 1.4 to allow more light into your lens. But doing so will bring me to the next thing that would happen if you open up your lens, and that is creating depth in your shot. If you want a shallow depth of field, you would want to open your lens as wide as you can. This will create bokeh in your images and videos. Bokeh is known for the blurry background that you get when you have your aperture open as wide as you would like. The wider you are, the more blurry it will be. If you close your aperture, everything will be in focus. Simple, right? Well, not always. For instance, sometimes we may not always have the light that we would like in our scene. To be able to close our aperture and get everything in the background in focus, it's really a simple thing once you get the hang of it, but at first it will be hard. Really what it's all about is basically just balancing out your exposure. Again, you will, if you open up your aperture, essentially what you are doing is allowing more light in, so you're going to have to balance it by either adjusting your shutter speed to darken it or bringing your ISO down, but we'll get to that a little further down in this video. Right now, I want to go on to the next step, and that is your shutter speed. Lowering or raising your shutter speed will also have an effect on how your images will look as well. If you lower your shutter speed to say 1/50th of a second, essentially what you are doing is creating more motion blur in your photos and videos. With photography, everything moving will be blurry, and everything that's not moving will be still. Raising your shutter speed in photography will freeze everything. For instance, if you were taking a photo of a moving car, everything in that scene will be frozen in time, including the wheels, even the tires, even the fast moving tires will be froze. It'll look like it's not even moving. Everything will be in focus and nothing will be blurry at all. Just keep that in mind. If you are shooting and if you want it to look like the car is moving, you're going to want to lower shutter speed. If you want it to look like the car is not moving, you'll want to bump your shutter speed up. But there's also something else that is happening if you lower or raise your shutter speed. Your image will either lighten or darken depending on how low or how high you set your shutter speed. So if you open your aperture to say a 1.4 and you lower your shutter speed to say 1/50th of a second, more than likely you are going to be overexposed. All the light that's coming in from the aperture and the shutter speed is going to blow out everything if you are in a bright environment. So what you're gonna have to do is either close your aperture a little or bring your shutter speed up a little. You're gonna have to compromise if you want to get that perfect exposure. They both brighten or darken depending on how low or how high you go up in numbers. Just remember, they both play different roles on how your images will turn out. Aperture is depth of field and shutter speed is motion blur. That's it. Moving on to the last part of this exposure triangle, and that is ISO. ISO is how sensitive your camera's sensor is to the light. If you set your aperture to 1.4 and your shutter speed to 1/50th of a second, like I noted earlier, it's going to be very bright. But bringing your ISO down will also balance that out and allow you to be exposed properly. So really, you know, like I mentioned, it's all about balancing. If you bring your ISO down to 200 and you have your aperture open at 1.4 and your shutter speed at 1/50th of a second, it should, for the most part, you know, be good. You know, should be exposed properly if the lighting condition it allows you to bring it to that, right? Okay, but say for instance, if you're in a dark space and you open up your aperture to 1.4 and you have your shutter speed at 1/50th of a second and it's still underexposed, you crank your ISO up, not too much. That will allow more light into your camera and give you a better balance. But be very careful, because the higher you go in ISO, the more grain and noise you introduce to your images. I wouldn't go nothing over 800 in ISO unless you absolutely have to. 1600 is the cutoff limit. I wouldn't go any higher than that unless you happen to be using a Sony a7 III. Awesome in low light, amazing in low light. As a matter of fact, that's my next goal right there, the Sony a7 III. If you're using a camera like that or even a cinema camera, go ahead and work your ISO to your advantage. But like I noted, I wouldn't go anything over 800 unless you absolutely have to. So there you have it, guys, the 3 exposure triangles. I hope that gives you a little bit more knowledge on how to manually expose your images in videos. It's one of those things that takes a lot of practice at first, but once you get it down, it's like riding a bike. You will never ever forget it. It's like it comes second nature. I would not recommend shooting in auto. It's just not the move. I wouldn't do it. I mean, like some people just get their cameras to just get out and take photos. By all means, if that's what you want to do it. But if you are somebody that is looking to dive deeper into photo and photography, auto is only going to take you so far. So what are you waiting for? Put your camera in manual, get out there and start creating. I hope this video helped you guys. If it did, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Also, comment down below, did this help you? Hopefully it did. If you have any questions, always feel free to leave them down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. All right, before I forget, I took to Snapchat and I asked you guys to ask me any question you would like related to camera gear and, you know, everything to do with what I do with cameras. And you know, I got quite a few responses. I think it was like 8 or 9 questions that actually came through, which isn't that bad. I mean, for me not, you know, promoting it on YouTube or whatever, I still ended up getting 8 or 9 questions. So the questions that I ended up getting on Snapchat, I wrote them down on here and then I answered on my phone. That way I wouldn't forget the answers to them. So let's jump right into it. The first question was, what made you switch from making music to doing music videos? That's actually a good question. Thank you for asking it. I got bored with making music. I do still have my music up on SoundCloud. The link, I'll drop it down below. But just know, I probably won't ever again in the future be making music. I mean, it was really fun. I had a fun time making music, but I'm not even gonna sit here and brag, but I was actually really good at making music. But, you know, long story short, it is up on SoundCloud, and if you want to go check it out, go ahead and check it out. But as for why I switched, it never really was a switch. You know, while I loved creating music, I also love taking photos and videos, just not as much as making music. So even though you guys didn't see me doing photos, you guys didn't see me making videos, it did not mean that I wasn't doing that while I was making music. As a matter of fact, back in 2012 was my very first music video that I ever shot. And I'll link that down below also. Actually, I'll link it right here. Go check it out. That was a lot of fun. I didn't know what I was doing back then. I mean, obviously I did know what I was doing because it came out pretty good. For the little camera that I was shooting on, it was a little Sony point and shoot. It was my mom's. But yeah, it's Go check it out. You'll see what I mean. But yeah, it wasn't until I stopped making music that I really started taking my camera seriously. So that's pretty much it. Music really was just my way of getting things out. You know what I mean? It was never my intentions to get famous or rich off of it. It was just a hobby and something fun that I love to do. Along with that, I used to go out and perform in like the Bronx on Webster Ave, and you know, just those things that keep you occupied and keep you, you know, having fun and entertained. So that's pretty much what that was. All right, moving on to the next question. How much money do you think you've invested while pursuing your passion? Wow, this is a hard one. I put so much money into this, I couldn't even give an exact amount, but just to put it this way, one light that I own cost $1 grand. So that's just for one light. The Aperture 120D Mark II is actually about $800, but with the light dome that I have, it brings it up to $1 grand. So that's just with that. Not to mention the 2 cameras, the gimbals, the tripod, and other accessories that I own. If I had to guess, I would say it's somewhere near 10 grand, give or take, easily. Are you willing to relocate in order to take your career to the next level? Absolutely, of course. Sign me up. If given the chance right now, I'm out. What's the first camera you've ever owned? My mom got me, I believe it's called a JVC. I'll leave some clips in here to show you what it actually looked like. I mentioned this in a previous vlog last year. As a matter of fact, the vlog was out last year. I'll leave some clips in there. I'll show you what it looks like. But yeah, this is what it looked like. It was a JVC camcorder, and she bought it for me when I was 12 years old. But other than that, I bought my next camera in 2016. It was a DSLR Nikon D5500. I wasn't too impressed by it, so in 2017 I ended up pawning it for the Sony A6300, and I do not regret that decision, and I haven't looked back since. So yeah, to answer that question, my very first camcorder was, again, I believe it's called the JVC camcorder. My mom got it for me, again, when I was 12 years old. Then after that, I didn't get another camera. I bought it on my own in 2016, and that was the Nikon D3300. Pawned it in 2017 for the A6300. Haven't looked back since. How many videos have you made? Judging by YouTube, when I last looked, I believe it was 140 videos so far. So yeah, that's it. How did you master your craft so fast? Well, I watch tutorials every day. I work at it consistently. Even if I don't post, I am consistently watching, recording, editing, and repeating it daily. That's key right there. Watch tutorials. You go and record. You go and edit. After you edit, you repeat it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. It never, ever ends. When the day you stop doing it, the day that you stop learning, the day that you stop doing it, just another day that you could have been getting one step further. I wouldn't technically say I mastered it overnight, but once I got over the exposure triangle, it was smooth sailing after that. Next question. How did you get 1K subscribers? Good question. I post consistently and I network. Post consistently and network. People are not gonna just come to you if you are not uploading great content and networking your ass off. It's that simple. Support, and people will support you back. Work hard. Anything that comes easy is not worth having. That's it, guys. That's the questions. That's it. I appreciate you guys for asking them. Wait, I skipped one. The last question is, where are you from? And I am born and raised in Connecticut. All right, that's it, guys. I appreciate you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not even gonna do another ending because you already seen the ending. But yeah, guys, what I'm gonna have you do, if you made it this far, drop a question down below. That's how I know that you made it to the end of this video. If you drop a question down below, I'll do another Q&A in an upcoming video. All right? Peace out, guys.